Okay, so I'm going to make another resource just so that you guys have something else that you can use for dihybrid crosses if you're still struggling. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples with you in this. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so the steps you need to do to complete the dihybrid crosses are, first, you need to determine what kind of problem you're trying to solve. So if it's talking about two different traits, then you know that you are going to be doing dihybrid. You'll need 16 boxes. Then you need to determine the letters that you will use to specify those traits. So tall being big T, short being little t. You need to determine the parental genotype. So that is obviously writing down, okay, are they going to be, big G, little g, and then like big B, little b, or whatever. So these are their genotypes. Then make your Punnett square, and you need to figure out all of your possible combinations of alleles that this parent could pass on right here. And then you're going to complete your cross to determine the possible offspring, and then finally determine genotypic and phenotypic ratios. Okay, so we're going to do some examples, like I said. So first off, here for this one, we're going to practice finding those possible combinations. So here we have two parents, and we're going to find out what possible alleles they could pass to their offspring. So you always want to split these down the middle, and then you're going to pair one from this side with one from this side. So you're going to have pair this B with this H. This B could also be paired with this little h, and then this little b could be paired with this big H. This little b could be paired with this little h. So your four possibilities would be big B, big H, big B, little h, little b, big H, and little b, little h. Okay, so then for this other one, I'll do the same thing, and I'm not going to draw all the arrows, but you have little b, big H, you have little b with little h, then we have this one, so you have little b, big H again, and then little b, little h again. Doesn't look like an H, okay? So then that's how you find those gamete possibilities. So let's do another one together. This one only has one possibility. So you'd have big B, big H times 4. And then this one, you're going to have big B, little h, big B, little h, little b, little h, and little b, little h. Okay. So now let's go on and actually practice some of these. Okay, so how do I erase the whole screen at once? There we go. All right. Okay, so the first problem we're going to do is in pea plants, tall is dominant to short and green is dominant to white. So we're going to be crossing a homozygous dominant plant for both height and color, and it's crossed with a plant that is homozygous recessive for both height and color. So on this next slide, I first need to figure out what the genotypes of the parents are. So we know that we have a plant that is homozygous dominant for both height and color. Okay, so we're going to assign our letters first, like I said. So tall is dominant to short, and green is dominant to white. Okay, so it is homozygous dominant for height. So just chunk it out. Okay, so homozygous dominant for height is big T, big T. And then it's also homozygous dominant for color. So that's going to be big G, big G. And then it's crossed with homozygous recessive for height and color. So that's going to be a little t, little t, little g, little g. Now that we know what the parental genotypes are, we need to figure out our allele combinations. So just like we've done in the previous example, you're going to pair these together. This big T could pair with this big G, could also pair with this other big G. Obviously, they're all going to be the same. So across the top, you're going to write two letters next to each other because these are the possibilities that the parent could pass to the offspring for each trait that we're looking at. The same thing for this one. It's all going to be the same thing. Okay, so now you fill in your boxes. So you pair up the one here with the one here. So you do, every box, whichever one pairs up, that's what you write in the box. So here, big T, little t, big G, little g. Now, with this one, they're all going to be the same. So you don't have to fill it all out. You can just literally like draw an arrow showing that all the boxes are going to be the same. So the biggest part now is to figure out the phenotype. So I've written down here at the bottom the 4 different phenotypes that there could possibly be. So we have tall and green. It could also be tall and white. It could be short and green, or it could be short and white. So if you're tall, you have to have at least one big T because that's dominant. And if you're green, you have to have at least one big G because that's dominant. So all of these fill that requirement. So all 16 of them are going to be tall and green. And then the rest of these would be 0. Okay, so let's try one that's a little bit more difficult. Okay, so in mice, the ability to run normally is a dominant trait. Mice with this trait are called running mice. The recessive trait caused by mice to run in circles only. Mice with this trait are called waltzing. Hair color is also inherited in mice. Black hair is dominant to brown. For each of the following problems, determine the parental genotypes, determine possible gametes, and then construct the Punnett square to solve. So cross 2 mice that are heterozygous for both traits. Okay, so let's remind ourselves. Running is dominant to waltzing. And then we have black hair is dominant to brown hair. Okay, so let's figure out our genotypes first. So they are heterozygous for both traits. So heterozygous for running ability would be big R, little r, because heterozygous. Heterozygous for hair color is big B, little b. Okay, so both parents are that. So both are going to be exactly the same. So big R, big B, little b. Okay, so now we need to figure out the possible combinations that each parent could pass. So you pair them up. Remember, we draw a line down the middle. This big R could pair with this big B. Big R could pair with this little b. Little r could pair with the big B. Little r could pair with the little b. So then let's write those across the top. So I'm going to change my color back. So we have big R, big B, big R, little b, big R. I'm sorry, that's not right. We already did that one. So we'd have little r, big B, and then a little r, little b. Okay, same thing down the side because the other parent is the same. Okay, then you're going to start filling out the boxes. Okay, when you fill out the boxes, make sure you put the same letters next to each other. And you always want to start with the capital letter first. So here we have big R, big B, big B, big R, big B, and then the little b. This will help you when you are trying to find the phenotypes at the end if you have them in this order. And hopefully you're kind of filling this out with me so you can actually go through the process of doing this. I think it'll really help you in the long run. And okay, last one. Okay, so now what I would suggest doing is using different colors. So I'm going to use like a red, and that's going to represent this one you can't really see, but it's the running black. Okay, so the running black right here is going to be red, and it has to have at least one big R, and it has to have at least one big B here. So this one is, 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 this one's not, this one is, this one is, this one is, this one is. Okay, so let's count how many there's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 of those. Okay, next is running to brown. Let's use green for that. Okay, this one needs to have one big R and has to have 2 little B's because brown is recessive and you have to have 2 recessive alleles. Okay, so 1 big R, 2 little B's. There's one, and there's one. So that would be 3. Waltzing and black. Okay, let's do teal. Okay, this one has to have 2 little R's. Let me rewrite that. So it has to have 2 little R's and at least 1 big B. So we have 1 here, we have 1 here, and we have 1 here. So this is 3. Then the last one, we're going to use yellow, and this would be waltzing and brown. So brown is recessive, waltzing is recessive. So this one here is all recessive. So this one here would have a 1 as the phenotype. So if you add all these together, 9 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 equals 16. So you know that you did it correctly. I would suggest using different colors like this when you're counting so that you don't get confused. Okay, so I hope this helped. Obviously, email me or let me know if you need to video chat with more questions because I really would like you to make sure you understand this. Thank you. Have a good day.